Hi guys, it's Major/Luckstone again, and today I am doing a top 10 list of my top 10 best battle pets in World of Warcraft. And pretty much this list is just consists of the pets that I use the most. I find that are my pets that are the best. Different people use different pets. I find that these pets are just great pets overall, easy to get, and I'm ranking them on a order of how effective I've used them in either PvP battles or using them in daily quests. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started now that I explained that. This is number 10, the bat. Now, this is just the regular bats, and I like my flying pets to be a little bit slower than usual because they have such a speed increase for being flying already. And the reason why I've used the bat so much is because it has great moves. The Restless strike is dominating flying attack, which is great for bringing down aquatic pretty easily, and you can use it every other turn. It has downsides to it, but I find that when you're bringing down dailies and whatnot, the Relentless Strike is a huge benefit. And also, the bat has two really good beast damage attacks, which help to bring down critters. So a lot of the daily quest trainers that you can fight tend to use a lot of critter and aquatic. So with the bat, it's one of those pets that can bring down two pets or kill one and weaken the next. So it can help set up for fast leveling for lower pets. Number 9, the Restless Shadeling. I haven't used this pet so much recently, but it's a great pet overall. The Restless Shadeling brings serious damage and serious survivability, and the build and because it's undead, it can sit there and you don't worry about it just getting CC'd for a turn because you're still going to get that one extra attack guaranteed. The big advantage that I use the rest of shading for is the Arcane Blast, which is a spammable attack, which every time you attack with it, it does more damage, capping out around 350 magical damage. This is really great for bringing down the Whispering Pandaren Spirit, which everyone hates because the moth it starts with, which is ridiculously overpowered and everyone hates it. The other great attack is the Plague Blood, which allows me to heal when I attack an enemy, which is really great if you're spamming Arcane Blast and just getting that little bit of heal off. Which and because it's a undead pet, you always get that one last turn. So, say if your Restless Shading goes down, you can set up for your next pet by dropping Plague Blood and just letting your Restless Shading die, and then get free heals to heal your next pet. This looks really great with the with pets that have multiple hit attacks. And then I also use the Phase Shift. Phase Shift is pretty nice. Number 8, the Autodized Robo Cub. This pet is a strong pet, especially mine. Mine maxes for health and loses speed, so he's optimized for health. And when it comes to mechanical, you generally get that last extra turn in. Not quite as good as the undead advantage, but still pretty good. And the reason why I just love this pet is because he can deliver the strong demolish, where you have a 50% chance to miss, which is horrible, but at the same time you can do 560 damage, and you're using that and you're bashing faces in pretty much. The other great thing is maul attack, so you can divide up into beast damage and mechanical damage, which is good for if you're fighting a trainer that has a beast pet and a critter pet, which happens occasionally. His second attack, the repair and rebuild, I don't really use that much. It could be really fun if you're running a robo team and you're just rebuilding each other's pets. And so that's nice and fun. But really, the big advantage of this is that he can do pretty sizable mauls and hit critter hard, or he can just spam demolish and hit beast hard. He's a really good all-around pet, and this is why he's number 8. Number 7, Chuck. Chuck is an aquatic pet. I've used them so much recently, and particularly bringing down just any of the elemental pets that trainers use. He's really strong because he can deliver a massive aquatic attack with 100% accuracy. It's on a long cooldown, but he also has Surge, which is spammable and really great. I kind of go between Surging and the Water Jet, but either one is pretty great. Pretty much with Chuck is a pretty simple strategy. You open up with a rip, and then you hit him with the Blood in the Water. Blood in the Water is a massive attack, aquatic attack, and whatnot. Rip is really good for also bringing down simple critters, or just getting some damage on them real fast, and they can also water jet critters if you want. But you might just want to sit down and just rip on them, slightly more damage than the water jet. But he's a really good pet. He's really useful for bringing down the daily trainers and whatnot. Chuck, it's that you gotta love that name. He's Chuck. His stats are pretty average. He's a little bit slow, but a little fat. He's a little slow, but a little more stronger and a little bit more health than the neutral pets. But all around, he's really strong and he's really versatile. So I love Chuck. Chuck is a great pet. Number 6, the electrified Razortooth. Now, when I have Chuck and electrified Razortooth really close together, and they swapped around a couple of times on which one would come first, and it was a really hard decision for me. And pretty much the reason why the electrified Razortooth won is because he's elemental. He doesn't have the weakness of flying, which is a commonly used pet by a lot of the pet trainers. A lot of them have a lot of flying, and this guy is really good for be able to deliver the aquatic damage, which is great for taking down the elementals. And he can still do he still has the rip, he still has the blood in the water, very similar pets. I guess the big advantage to the devour, it's a moderate damage beast attack, but if you manage to get a kill with it, it restores a chunk of health, which is beautiful, especially when you're trying to kill 2 pets of a daily guy, and then finish the last pet off with a lower level pet just to level it fast. That's a great strategy if you want to level pets fast. I do it all the time. But Electrified Razortooth is just a great pet. Every time I pull him out, I love using him, and he does exactly what I want him to do, and he's a great pet. And that's number 6. Before we move on to number 5, I want to talk about 2 pets that didn't quite make the list that are worth mentioning. Though they're pretty easy pets to use. Nothing really spectacular about them. They do just fall close to my heart. I do love them. And the first one is Little Bling. Little Bling comes from doing the Blingatron 4000 daily, and he just eventually drops out of the box for you. And if you don't get him right away, don't worry about it. Blingatron 4000 will be showing up for next 5 expansions. You'll get this pet eventually. And Blingatron, he has great attacks. You can do the inflation was really good for getting past the damage reduction from boss pets, but they changed that around, so inflation just not quite as good. Just doesn't work anymore for that. Or you can use or my personal favorite is smackdat.exe. That is a definite call out to anyone who knows programming and know what an exe file is. But I love it. Love the attack. It's Blingatron. He is a gem encrusted gold beast, pretty much. I love this pet, and you use Blingatron's gift package which there's no downside to that. Either it heals you or does heavy damage to them. You can take advantage of this magical damage, and you don't feel bad about missing. And for what it is, it's great attack. And then you have Make It Rain. Make It Rain is just amazing. You can just steady damage people down. If you have Plague Blood on the target, Make It Rain just does so much healing. Also, it's a great pet. Little Bling, he's great. The other pet I wanted to talk about was the Tranquil Mechanical Yeti. And this is one of my favorite pets. This is one of the pets I had before we had pet battles. Trickle Mechanical Yeti. He's a cool looking pet, and it was my paladin pet for a while. The pet I would tote around with my paladin, and pretty much what's great about him is he can thrash people for beast damage. You can metal fist people for just flat mechanical damage. And he has Call the Lightning, which is great for increasing mechanical damage, or just getting that Call Lightning effect out. I'm trying to hold off with Call Lightning. I think the biggest advantage is just doing the more mechanical damage. And the reason why I say that was when you have the attack Ion Cannon. Pretty much Call Lightning with Ion Cannon is going to do about 900 damage, and that's without a crit. And if it does crit, you pretty much just one-shot a pet, and unless it's magical. But still, I mean, it's freaking Ion Cannon. You blow stuff up with Ion Cannon. It's great if you and it's really great if because this is a mechanical pet. If you know your pet's about to go down, and you can take advantage of that one tone of still being alive with Ion Cannons. Blast the hell out of something as strong as you can, and it's a great pet. It just didn't make the list, and when you see my top 5, you will understand. All right, now that I mentioned my honorable mentions that just didn't quite make the list, let's move on to number 5. Number 5 is the Fawn. I know no one really took another look at this pet, and this pet is barely on my list. I mean, no, he's not barely on my list. He's deep in there. What am I saying? Anyway, the reason why I bring up the Fawn is that he's amazing. This pet has blindsided many PvP battles that I brought him into. No one expects the Fawn to be that much of a threat. It's a critical of all things. When beast damage can be rampant sometimes, but the Fawn can do strong damage to undead pets with his hoof attack. It's 90% accuracy, so you can miss with it. It's common to miss. It happens. It happens plenty enough. You will notice when it happens, and it's really annoying. But it does the 332 damage, which is above 300, which is strong. It's a strong, stable attack, and it's critical damage, so it's doing good damage to undead. And my Fawn is a little speed heavy and loses out on the attack and a little bit more health, but that's okay. So the hoof brings strong attacks to undead, and I can use Headbutt, which does beast damage, and it has a 25 chance to stun the target, which is really fun. If you just get that random stun on your opponent, they pretty much sit there and like, what just happened? And they start to struggle to bring down the Fawn, and it gets better. You are a critical, and as a critical, you are immune to stuns, roots, and sleep effects. It is beautiful. People just can't lock you down. They can't stun you up and take advantage of that. And it's like, oh, I'll just do heavy beast damage to this Fawn. And honestly, that scares the crap out of me when they can just do that. But at the same time, you have Nature's Ward, which changes your type to Elemental, and you still retain the critical advantage. You still retain the critical advantage for some strange reason. The only thing that changes is your weaknesses, The only thing it changes is your weaknesses, and it's awesome. I love the Fawn. You start getting the health back when you use Nature's Ward. You have to be careful with Nature's Ward. Make sure you don't walk into an aquatic attack, but it's still amazing for that. Like, yes, you have Tranquility. A lot of people use Tranquility in stalls, but you if you don't like stall strategies, and a lot of people don't like them. Yes, stall strategies are amazing, but if you don't like stall strategies, this is a pet that can do strong damage to undead and critical and stick around and annoy the heck out of people because it can't be locked down with stuns, roots, and sleep effects. It can still be blinded though, which gives a huge disadvantage when fighting a certain other pets. Anyway, so that's number 5, the Fawn. Number 4, the Gilded Moth. And everyone knows that moth pets are just really good. They have mothballs, they have moth dust, they have cocoon strike, and you have access to slicing wind or alpha strike depending on how you feel. And because of that, moths are just really great pets. They're easy to get too. There's some that are better than others, and frankly, the one I got is really just more of an average moth. He really outcompetes by other moths though because of his stats. He loses advantage on the speed. He's not as average as the medium pets, fastest medium speed pets, but he has more power and slightly more health, which plays a big part. As a flying, you get a huge speed boost anyway, so it's only other flying pets that outspeed him. And when you're running mothballs, it really just slows them down even more. So you don't have to worry about speed too much. Speed is not an issue. So a little bit more power is nice. So he's a really good pet. I generally use him as my second pet, especially if I already set up a Plague Blood from an undead pet, and pretty much with Plague Blood and Moth goes really great together. You have Alpha Strikes where you hit attack 2 times, or you can go Slicing Wind and try to attack 3 times. And then you have Mothballs where you attack up to 4 times, and you can possibly get back 200 health, which is awesome. This pet works really well when you get to using Cocoon Strike, it gives you an attack and makes you pretty much invulnerable for one turn, and you're fast enough to pull this off, so you know that big attack's coming with Cocoon Strike. The only disadvantage of the Gilded Moth is everyone knows moths. Everyone knows what to expect. Everyone knows you have a Cocoon Strike sitting there, and they know they want to psych you out, and so you blow your Cocoon Strike out of before they use Oli, so they can use their big heavy attack at once. Another advantage is amazing with the mothballs, because it's a multi-hit attack. It will rip straight through stuff like barricades and the target dummies from the mechanical pets, and it's mothballs. It's devastating. This is a great pet. Moths are amazing. The Gilded Moth, my Gilded Moth, it could be any type of moth really, but my moth has great stats for the way I like to play. It's stronger and doesn't have as much speed, but it's stronger, and you can help rip through weaker flying pets, which is really nice. And honestly, the Gilded Moth, I use it all the time for bringing down aquatic pets and the daily pet battles and whatnot. So he's just a great pet, and anyone who dismisses a moth is not going to do it again because they're going to get destroyed. Number 3, the Deathadder Hatchling. This pet. When this pet was released, and the time that we got the Timeless Island, people started showing up with this pet. We didn't know what to do about it. He's a strong pet. You can do pretty solid damage, and he can blind you for 2 turns. Yes, it says only one. It only lasts for 1 round, but it doesn't. That does not count the first round. And if you have a fast Deathadder Hatchling, you will get that attack before your opponent does. And the Deathadder Hatchling does come at maximum speed optimizer. Everything is thrown into speed, and you don't worry about the other stats. The Deathadder Hatchling is terrifying. It is a terrifying pet to have to fight. And if you, and you know, it's the one of the most annoying pets. Crittles can't get away from that blind. It's 100% blind. It's not a 50% blind. It's 100%. They will miss, and it's broken as hell. And you know what? This is why the Deathadder Hatchling is so high up on my list. And you may ask, why is it at number 1 if it's so good? And you know, I really had to think about this. My top 3 pets are really just all like going side to side with them. It's so, I mean, I shuffled around it like a few times, and pretty much my Deathadder Hatchling made it number 3. And that's saying something amazing. That is saying something amazing that it's so high. But you know, at the same time, what does it say about my other pets? And let me just talk you through this. The Deathadder Hatchling blinding poison ability is freaking crazy. Your opponent will try to dodge it. He will try anything he can to predict when you're going to use that blinding poison. And you hope that he's going to get it wrong, because he wants to use his heavy attack. He doesn't want to worry about blinding poison. He doesn't want that blinding poison. He will use his evasive ability to dodge it. He doesn't want it. And it's really great because you can then use Vicious Fang, which is another great attack. This Vicious Fang, some reason, past its own damage cap that it says. I've seen this attack do, when it's all maxed out, do 400 damage without a crit. 400 damage, and that's not even on a crit. It's without a crit even. And you know, it's really easy to set up. The Deathadder Hatchling it has blinding poison, and when you use puncture wound, you can make up for the fact that you didn't attack your last turn and hit twice. That puncture wound will even rip through blockade abilities like the target dummy. It'll rip through the target dummy. It'll bring it down and then hit the guy again. It's amazing, and you can still rip through the target dummies with it. It's a good freaking attack. And and then you have Vicious Fang. People are so scared of blinding poison. They think you're gonna open up with it. I've run to many occasions where I can open up with Vicious Fang and get that extra application of the 70 damage right there for when I use it next. And then so I get that free attack in, and then like they blew their evasion ability, and then I just come with blinding poison and set up for the puncture wound. It is a beautiful combo. This pet is scary as hell. You don't want to fight this pet. And when you see this pet on a team, it scares the crap out of you, especially when you see one as fast as mine, which is maximize speed. And the reason why this pet is number 3 and not number 1 is because I use this pet as support. It is a support pet. It was like, how is this a support pet? You don't set up anything with this pet It's a self-contained pet. It's all of its synergy is contained within himself. But then you realize, if you put your Deathadder Hatchling in your full slot, people will see the Deathadder Hatchling and they will think you're going to open up with the Deathadder Hatchling, which is awesome. And that will bring me to my number 2 and number 1. I'll explain. Number 2, the Coonlight runt. This pet has been like ever since I got it. I was like, ever since I first saw this pet, it's like, hey, it's a humanoid and it looks cool. And I figured I'd hunt around till I got one that was rare, and luckily for me, I got an amazing one. His speed is average, his attack is a little above average, his health is average. Well, health must be slightly lower than average, but still pretty strong overall. And the Coonlight runs. This pet is great, and he is on my regular team with the Deathadder Hatchling. And pretty much, I've never regretted using the Coonlight run. Once I saw it, I was like, this is amazing. And for his attacks, you use Frost Shock, which slows your opponents and hits for elemental damage, which is great because remember what I said about number 3, the Deathadder Hatchling. It is so scary, people expect it, so they will lead their team. They see the Deathadder Hatchling, think it's going to come up immediately, especially when it's in the first slot. So they're going to throw down a mechanical. So use Frost Shock, do mechanical damage, and yeah, you did some okay mechanical damage. They're slowed. They don't know exactly what's coming yet because Coonlight Runt, he's not a very popular pet. He's a very good pet, but he's not a very popular pet. You know, no one is. You don't really notice a pet until you use it or you come against it, or it's a boss drop. This pet is not a boss sub. He's not been highlighted in any way. He is just a strong pet, and he's a hidden gem. Though not that super common, though you can go through a lot of them and eventually get a rare one. It took me like 3-4 days of just trying and hunting for this guy before I got him. And so let me finish explaining this. So you hit the Frost Shock, which does decent damage, slows your opponents, and they're chilled. Well, then you have Deep Freeze. Deep Freeze is an amazing ability, and people who know Coonlight Runt won't let you get the Deep Freeze off. They'll try to they'll switch pet when they see them chilled, and when they see that the pet's chilled, because they know Deep Freeze is coming, and and because if Deep Freeze hits and you're chilled, it's 100% chance to stun, and because they're chilled and slowed, you're gonna hit first, and the only downside of Deep Freeze is just his accuracy. 85% accuracy is terrifying to use. Like I find in pet battles, 85% accuracy, it's actually more about 85% accuracy. Not like it's in Pokemon. If you played Pokemon, 85% accuracy means you're gonna miss, 4 out of 5 times for some reason. That's just how Pokemon is. I don't understand what's up with the miss chances. But in pet battles, it hits more often in WoW, and it's a strong pet for Deep Freeze. And then you have Takedown. Now, if you got the stun on your opponent, they will switch. They see the stun as it's a free switch. No matter what, they're gonna take damage, so they might as well make the best out of it. And because of that, Coonlight Runt is not number 1 because of that one factor they can switch. But if they can't switch, Coonlight Runt has the Takedown attack, which hits them for about almost 300 damage, 100% accuracy, and if they're stunned, it hits for double damage. This is amazing. With the Coonlight Runs in this, pretty much, if they can't switch for whatever reason, you're gonna do about 700 damage off of Frost Shock and Deep Freeze, and then you can hit them with Takedown for another 600 damage. This destroys most pets, and if they're a mechanical, even better. Especially if they save the mechanical pet to be down your Deathadder Hatchling. So you don't, because you didn't use your Deathadder Hatchling, you have that in reserve, and it scares the crap out of your opponents. And when you have Coonlight Runt, they don't really understand the Coonlight Runt. Most people just don't know about its awesomeness. So you can sit back and just like taunt with the just like have the Deathadder Hatchling be menacing. It's scary as heck. And they have Coonlight runs, and pretty much what happens is I try to use my Coonlight runs last. I try to get it down so they only have one pet left. If my Coonlight runs at half health, chances are I'm gonna destroy the last pet, even if it's at full health, because of the lockdown. Frost Shock. Okay, well they hit me once. Deep Freeze. I hit them and they're stunned, and they've taken 700 damage now. And I hit Takedown, and they're gonna take another 600 damage. It is such a strong lockdown, just a combo amongst itself, and it's a self-contained combo. It's amazing, and it's really, because of this, Coonlight Runt makes a great ankle. It makes a really great last pet, because when it comes down to one-on-one, Coonlight Runt they can't switch. They can't get away from that Deep Freeze, and you will bring down the full force of your damage on them. And if you know their pet has an evasive thing, you can Frost Shock, and they may just try to block block the Deep Freeze, but you can just hit them with Takedown, and then hit them Deep Freeze, and so they blow their evasion thing if they know about Coonlight runs. If not, you just go ahead and follow up with the Deep Freeze after that anyway. Great pet. I've been using this pet ever since I found it, and it's easily makes the top 2, and he would be number 1 if it wasn't for the last pet. Now, before I get to my number 1, I want to do a quick recap of just the top 10 pets. 10, you have the bats with the flying and beast damage. 9, you have the Restless Shadling with the Plague Blood and the spammable magic damage. Number 8, you have the auditized Robo Cub, which can bring forth strong mechanical damage and also beast damage. Number 7, you have Chuck, who does decent beast damage and a strong aquatic damage. 6, the electrified Razortooth, which is just like Chuck, except that he's elemental, and because of that he fits a very nice niche. Number 5, the surprising Fawn, who does strong critical damage to bring down undead, strong decent beast damage for bringing down crittles, and he's a critter, so you just can't lock him down, and he can change his type if he needs to. Number 4, the Gilded Moth, who does great flying damage, and he's a moth. You know moths, how great they are. If you don't, play with the moth, you will understand. Number 3, the terrifying Deathadder Hatchling, which is a beautiful scale tactic pet, and sometimes I never even use them in a battle, though just his presence is terrifying enough. Number 2, the Coonlight Runt, which is a strong pet, and if you're not worried about countering, if you have a standalone team that you feel comfortable going against anything, the Coonlight Runt makes a really great ankle and can always bring down that one last pet. Alright, so that's my recap. Let's move on to number 1. Number 1. Now, if you see any of my videos, you will know just how much I use this pet, and you will know just how awesome this pet is. And I'll just go for it. It is the Scourged WellBeing. This pet is a great lead. If you lead with this pet, pretty much you will bring down one opposing pet and get started on the next one before he goes down. And if they're using a Unborn Valkyrie, you can do like knock down off a quarter of their health, and Unborn Valkyrie does this annoying thing, and you move on to knock out another 50% of the next pet at least. The Scourge WellBeing has the advantage to be able to do a really powerful dragon attack, and has Plague Blood, and has Call of Darkness. So You can sit there and okay, they throw up a if they lead with the dragon, okay, call darkness, hit them for um 500-600 damage with call darkness on the dragon, no problem. Only downside is your healing from plague blood is not going to be as effective, and your tail sweep is going to be missing now at 85%. Chances are they're using an even less accurate attack, so you might be well off anyway. But sometimes at that point I spam plague blood just for the higher hit chance, and so you can do that. Tail sweep. You have to understand the Scourge Whelping. If you want the slowest one you can, with optimized for health. Pretty much by the time I can get stun locked. This pet can get stunned for a turn, and then attack on the second turn. It can get stunned for 2 turns and catch back up in damage to the opponent. They get me down to 900 health in 1 turn. I can get them down to 900 health because just how powerful that tail sweep is. If you bet on your pet being slow, you will win that bet. Unless they're using like a slow pet anyway, which they're not betting on the slow speed. But since you bet on slow speed and most people are betting on fast speed, you will win that bet. And you will do the 360 damage for 95% accuracy and in 2 hits. This is possibly easily the best attack in the game. Only downside is you're slow, which it doesn't matter because you're undead. Because you're undead, you will always get your last 2 hits in. You always get your last hit and you always get that bonus hit. So the Scourge Whelping is a devastating pet. And say if you knocked out one of the pets and you just got knocked out, you can then set up with the Plague Blood. Remember the Plague Blood ability from the Restless Shadeling. The Plague Blood is a strong ability. It brings forth the pain, the agony, and most of the time sometimes some people will just switch because they know that they can't especially have a multi-hit pet coming up like a moth. They'll switch out just to avoid the Plague Blood, and you take advantage of that because you can open up and hit them strong hit the next pet strong with something else. Take advantage of they're going to switch every single time. The Scourge Whelping, I've taken down 2 pets before this thing has gone down sometimes, and I normally always take down at least 1 pet before he goes down. And he's a beautiful pet. He's undead, so he takes less damage from dragon, which is really just an insult because he's a whelping, and because of that, he doesn't actually he's undead, so he doesn't take bonus damage from the humanoids, which are pretty common in pet battles. A lot of great humanoids out there, but because he's undead, you actually have an advantage over humanoids with the Plague Blood, so you can hit people Plague Blood for like 350 damage, or you can tail sweep them, which I normally go for the tail sweep. But either way, that's pretty great. And you have a lot of people who use pets with changing the environments and whatnot. Call of Darkness is a great ability. A pet I run into a lot is the Encourage Guardian thing. It has a sandstorm ability, and it has rock skin, stone skin, and it has like evasion. It has this one massive attack that hits for like 400, and it's really I would say it's overpowered, but that heavy hitting attack is also low accuracy, like probably around 85 probably. So he's really low, and you hit Call of Darkness, it drops him down to like 75% accuracy, so he's going to be missing plenty enough to really annoy the heck out of him. And you can also spam with Plague Blood, so you're pretty high likely to hit him with a strong attack. And you wait for him to use the Sandstorm. The Scourge Whelping as a lead just annoys the heck out of teams that rely upon changing the weather. Call of Darkness, like, oh, I'm going to run a Singing Sunflower. Well, Singing Sunflowers are freaking annoying. And if you build a team around Singing Sunflowers, that is one heck of a team to have to bring down. But Cold Darkness puts a real wrench in that, and I've brought down Singing Sunflower teams. And it's really hard. It's a really long fight. No matter just run from those. But Scourge Whelping, he's also he's a great pet, and the thing is, he's relatively unknown. There's only about 9 of these things running around on your server, and to get a rare one is really it'll take you a few days to get a rare one. I mean, they're all closer together at least, so it's not like trying to track down a Coonlight runt, which is uncommon to start with. But he's does that. You definitely want to. You'll be tempted to use Undead Battlestone on him just to bring him up, but you want the slowest one possible because you want to bet on the low speed, and it's not a bad bet because you'll have the higher health. He's a great pet. He brings the pain. He's a great lead because you can drop Plague Blood. And when you're using a Deathadder Hatchling, people expect a Deathadder Hatchling. They don't expect a Scourge Whelping to be forced because they see the Deathadder Hatchling and they're scared of it. They're not scared of the Scourge Whelping until it's out there, and they don't realize how strong it is until after you use that second Till Sweep and the pet's almost dead. So Scourge Whelping, if you don't have one of these pets, you want to get one. You want a slow one, and you want a one with a lot of health. And this is my number one pet. I don't regret this pet. You may think that these pets are really not as powerful as a lot of the other pets, but the thing is, they're uncommon pets. These are pets easy to use, and the big advantage is people don't understand these pets, and they're just useful pets. With my team of the Deathadder Hatchling, Scourge Whelping, and the Coonlight Runt, I have a video of me winning 4 out of 5 battles, and in destroying with them. These are great pets, and they're easy pets to get. If you disagree with me, post in comments, like, subscribe. I don't care. I mean, please subscribe, please like. But this is my top 10 pets. Top pets that are mine, I should say. And have a nice day.